came just after the Torah was over. He was broken on it. He came to the Arizal, sit there, Rosenfeld saw his feeling, he said that Rosenfeld, one sentence, Shulchan Purim is also a holiday. Which meant that you came in time. Shulchan Purim is the same as Purim. The question is, though, Shulchan Purim is a holiday in Shulchan. It's a holiday in Yerushalmi. This was in the city of Breslov. That's the holiday there. The answer is that Shulchan Purim is a holiday too everywhere. Why? Especially to Rosenfeld, because what's the relation between Purim and Shulchan Purim? The relation of the sun and the moon. The relation of the Rebbe and the Talmud. Because you are the true Talmud, you are the true Lavoda, the true moon that reflects the light of the Rebbe, the tzadik, the sun. Therefore, it was fit that Arizal was there for him. He also came to Shulchan Purim to show this relationship. Then he started to reflect the light of Arizal. But that is the Ikar message of Shulchan Purim. The message that this is one of the 7 mitzvahs of the Rabbanon. Declared by the Rabbanon, where the Torah says that the mitzvahs they give by Sosun. You're not there to turn away from, not there to refuse or to reject Hashem, but to accept the mitzvahs that Rabbanon, the same as the mitzvah of Hashem. This becomes a mitzvah that they Sosun. It's the Rabbanon is the Rabbanon, the Rabbanon. There's a word of Shleimus, Tachlis, so this which is going to see the coming of Mashiach Kedah. Both Mashiachs, Purim and Shulchan Purim, the sitting of Shleimus Kedah. We continue the Halachas of Kos and Kala. We go a step further, the dinim of after marriage. Mitzvah the Torah. This would be nice for a person to get married, and to be kind of posek, pure and vote. To have children, to be fruitful, to multiply. Of course, should create a world to propagate, to continue to exist. In order to do so, people must multiply, produce new generations. This is a mitzvah saseh, which a Jew has. The question is, when is he chayav to fulfill it? At the age of 13, he doesn't have a mitzvah yet. At the age of 18, he already has this mitzvah. At the age of 18, he must fulfill this mitzvah. At least he should not allow 20 to go by without a wife. Unless he's in the middle of a big business transaction, definitely not. In the middle of learning Torah, very deeply embedded in the study of Torah, advancing, progressing, spending day and night, and then he's excused only if during that time he is positive that he doesn't have any Zohar. As the Torah says today, which person can boast of no Zohar? We do find one that can be only a sodus, one who is sterile, one who is lacking seichel completely. One is the SS notion. So, what a man mitzvah is one that is how it rests upon every single Jew who is of age to get married, and who is not obeying that mitzvah if he lets time go by. When is the mitzvah fulfilled? Kiruv is when he has a son and a daughter. That's when the mitzvah is fulfilled. And of course, it is better, naturally, if the boy produces a separate mitzvah of bringing Mashiach closer. And of course, also, then it says to bring more people into the world who will serve Hashem. If a person gives birth to children who will be reason to be not religious at all, it's like giving birth to animals, to behemoths. There are enough animals in this world without producing more. That the mitzvah is to produce children and to give them the proper chinuch for their sons and daughters, to teach them the mitzvahs of the Torah. This mitzvah is chal on the chiyuv, that is chal only on men. The min is that only a man has the chiyuv, where if it is not fulfilled, the man is chayav, must pay a penalty for failing to fulfill this mitzvah. A woman is put for this mitzvah. She's not required to have children, but she is required to be married, to have a husband. Of course, this means she's not mechuyev, because she still has a mitzvah. That is, it's a good thing if she does it, but no sin if she doesn't. Whereas having a husband is a chiyuv on a woman. She cannot say if she's put from having children, but she's put from being married, she being an old maid. She must be married because of the kedusha involved. Every person should strive with all his power to marry a woman from a family that is Teshuva, Yechazdik family. Kedusha goes through all the details about the families of Yichus. What that is, the person does not know which family has a long background. Yichus, you should look for the three special signs that show that this family dates back to Avraham Avinu. The three signs are Vaishanim, modesty, shyness, Nachmanim, ones who have pity, who are not cold-blooded, not sadistic, and the Chassidut, those who like to help assist others, who are free with their service and with their money, with kindness. The person who has these midos, you know that he is from a Jewish people. Because the Havdil and Gedim do not have this. The Gedim are all evil, sadistic. So the person sees one who comes from a family that has these midos, you know that this is a family that person should attach himself to. And select one, Ishak Shega, who is fit for this person. To see these Vugim Shedim very shortly among ourselves. This person have a lot of more simchas. And to say that through this should be the observing the Elah, which will bring about the Ula Shlim and the Shechman. Since we're still on the weekend Shana Brachos, we'll continue on the dinner of marriage. We discussed this once before for some reason. The question about Savoy's Vida Chassid. Vida Chassid was one of the Bavly Taisus. His words were accepted very strongly, especially came out with certain rules. His Savoy, people sort of feared to go against it. One of those items was Kala V'Chamesa, means that a person should not marry a woman whose name is the same as his mother's, because it's unhealthy could prove unhealthy. And this is an item where a lot of posek disagree to the point that many say that even Vida Chassid himself did not mean this literally for all time, just meant for his own family. One of the points that make this would weaken this, it would seem. Yet we find people who are so afraid of this item that I have seen actually even nowadays, good shidduchim that are broken up because of the fear of marrying a girl whose name is the same as one's mother. Some of the poskim say that at worst, if a person is that much afraid, that he should add a name to the kala that makes it different than his mother's name. You know, add a name, change your name, change it by adding an initial name. Secondly, the entire item, I guess Moshe says that the entire item has nothing to do with the mother. No, it's always the mother of the kala who's afraid for her life, objects to this shidduch going through. Actually, it's not the mother of the kala, it's the chassid kala themselves. They should be cautious about this, take precautions against it, but there's no right, no justification the kala's mother to object to it, because she's not affected. The kala, not the kala's mother, not the chassid's mother. Third, most of the poskim say very clearly, very sharply, that if you have a shidduch where the chassid is a ben teda, yeshiva person, surely there's a chus of teda is far greater than a fear about the name they will say. So to Chas Hashem break a shidduch because of the fear of this item is very, very inadvisable, extremely inadvisable. There are also some who say that talking about the unusual acceptance of these gezeres of the Vida Chassid. They said Halacha, if the Vida Chassid would have written the Ten Commandments in his Savah, would have been much more observed today than it is. In any event, as a final word, of course we say again that to break a shidduch for this reason, surely there is no need whatsoever. At worst, at best, at least, that the most requirement would be to add another name to it. And aside from that, to not to worry about, because if the shidduch is a good one, the shuli the chus will cover any outside fear. Again, it's an unusual case too. The Gemara says that it's a mitzvah for a person to marry his sister's daughter. Some say his brother's daughter too, marry his niece. Teshuva says that it's not advised to marry a brother's daughter, because then the person destroys the chance for the mitzvah of evil. You cannot his brother could then not fulfill mitzvah even with Lisa because it's his own daughter who is the wife of his brother. But some say this applies to both. Anyway, at least surely his niece, his daughter's side, is surely a mitzvah, which of course disproves the claims of medical society, other idiots who say that very relative is not healthy and not advisable. But here the Gemara states very clearly that it's a marriage that will bring hatzlacha, good fortune throughout. So that there are many reasons for it, of course, why marrying Bas HaChesed, the big one, just the two, but it's an item just should be stressed, the fact that this is definitely a healthy match. Of course, again, we come to a very strange statement. It says with the Chassidut, he says that a person should not marry his niece. There, of course, the posek, some say it mistaken prince, some scream it. Otherwise, others give answers for it. This one item was not accepted, apparently, because the Gemara is filled with this item, so it's known to be effective in a good sense. However, the person should be careful when wanting to marry someone who may be related to him very distantly, remotely. Even, you should always inquire, get a psak, whether this is a permissible marriage. Because naturally, an actual relative, a close relative, is also a tzadik. So you have to know at which point relation stops where you're allowed to then marry. Finally, the din says that a person who wants to have a bracha prevalent in his home throughout his life, there is a key which opens the door to bring these brachas in. That key is a person should be very careful respecting his wife properly. Of course, the Gemara says that all brachas, all wealth, monetary wealth, come to a person because of his wife. Arizal shows the reason in a deeper sense, but the Gemara says if you want to become wealthy, respect your wives. And of course, this is something that's very simple to do. You have a wife that should be respected. But Arizal says that anyway, you still should, because no matter what happens, you always win. If your wife is good, you win. If your wife is not fast to show, so it also clears away part of Gehenna later, a world of Gehenna. A person goes through Gehenna on this world with a certain type of wife, he has to go to two Gehennas. That erases the need for a Gehenna later. In all cases, a person should respect his wife, and this will bring to a true bracha that's sold throughout his entire life. I go to the Chassidut Kala, to this kind of common mutual respect for each other, which will bring double Ashidus, Ruchnius, and Begashmius. We should always have to say these simple qualities. Yes, we should get in the head all day. This is the first year since the Shabbat office. The past couple of days I've been sort of out, and sort of like I still am out. But because of the important message today, I thought it worthwhile to put extra effort into putting in this year. The end of Pesach is coming. We have to learn Halacha again. Yom is so important. In one respect, it's more important than Shabbos. A person wants to buy a new suit. He has a choice between buying for Shabbos or Yom Tov. The thing is that he must buy for Yom Tov preferably. He wants to buy two suits, a good one and a better one. A good one for Shabbos and a better one for Yom Tov. He wants to buy three suits for Shabbos, for Yom Tov, and for a wedding. The most important Yom Tov of all is the wedding. So we see that celebrating a wedding is like celebrating a Yom Tov. How does a person go about celebrating a Yom Tov properly? Arizal reveals a fact that's pertinent to this message. Yesterday, those of us who were fortunate, were zeichet to have our names on a special list. Contacted Eretz Yisrael yesterday, the big tzadik emes, and already by now
he has already said these names like the Kaisel Marabi. Tzadik Emes at the holiest place has already been swallowed for these people who are on that list. Arizal says that a person who shows a chashivas for, he shows a deep ahava, respect, and praises properly the value of Tzadik Emes, that person is one who really and truly is celebrating the Yentov properly. The Kedushas Yentov is totally dependent upon the manner in which a person feels towards a tzaddik. That's why the Gemara says that Chayav Odom Lehakvinav Lehego. A person chayav to visit his Rebbe on Yentov, to see the face of his Rebbe on Yentov. And Rabbi Nachman that means that a person who sees his Rebbe, who feels Rebbe, the Rebbe of the Tzaddik Emes, that person who feels him, who sees his face, means that he absorbs Rebbe Tzaddik Emes. That person is truly mikabel the Yentov properly. That's why must give a public shevach, thanks to Hashem, that was zecher, that what obviously, this is very obvious, I must say this openly as a shevach to Hashem, that this illness which came about these couple of days was undoubtedly scheduled to come about last week, which would have been, to show the biggest problem, to put it mildly, as far as the wedding is concerned. And I believe that it's the schus of the Ava Chashivas for the Tzadik Emes that this was postponed in the Shemayim to enable the wedding and the Sheminah to go through properly. Now it doesn't count so much. Now we have good haste to take care of the rest. But this should be a lesson to us that we should be zecher, couple the Amitabim properly, and through the sustaining Chashivas of the Tzadik Emes. We should be zecher the Emes to have a true Ava Chibur for the Tzadik Emes. Then we go back to the regular Seder Shekhanah. Hilchos Masel Matan. We started before dinim of doing business. Masel Matan means doing business, which means buying and selling. And Rosenfeld brings out a very important point, which is unobserved by most people. The Rosenfeld began at this point. Business is a word, scheda, las is scheda. And we use the word masel matan. Matan means to give, masel means to carry and to give, which means the buying and the selling. Rosenfeld says that which one of the two is more important, the buying or the selling? Obviously, the tachlis, the goal. A person buys in order to sell. A businessman buys merchandise, that's not the end, that's only the beginning. Tachlis, the goal is to sell it. If he doesn't sell it, then he's stuck. That's why the word masa means a load. He's carrying a very heavy load. Buying means he has a load now. He has inventory which if he gets stuck with, he can go broke. So the ikid is the maton, get rid of it, give it away. It's one item. The Arizal says in selling, doing business and selling, it's not that simple as going out or buying stuff and selling it. The person goes to buy something, and when he sells something, everything is from heaven. It's all in the Shemayim naturally, as is anything. In this case, it's more than just that. It's that everything in this world has its own zivik, its own mate. The person has his mate, the person will get to his mate, and nobody else will get it. The person has his own house. The person will buy that house, nobody else can get that house. Each thing is mated together, they belong to each other. There are certain parts, the tzutzais, items, specks, drops that are found in the world that belong to a person's neshama. If they belong to a person's neshama, they will not get to somebody else. So if there's a 20-cent item in the marketplace, that item is waiting for its owner, its master to come and get it. It's to be owned by that person for a certain specified amount of time. That way these items will receive that ticket. Until that time comes when this person has done his part, it's then transferred by sale to a second person. Each person has certain connections with the shudder, with the item involved. It must go through the hands of these people. So not to see, buy, to sell, not just taking a lump of mass and buying and selling it. Every single bit of mass has in it a kedusha, has in it a living cells which must come to its owner. You see the tikkun effectually go on. This is a very deep item, and people fail to observe to notice this. Therefore, we can understand the very first halacha on this item of Mishpat. It is says that a person must be very careful not to fool his friend, not to fool the buyer, the customer. The person who fools the customer, the person who fools someone, whether it's the seller who fools the buyer in most cases, even if the buyer is very shrewd and outwits the seller into selling something which is far below cost. Tricks him, pretends that this is, he switches items in the store itself, or the person is actually fooled. It means a theft. In a case like this, the person should know that he's not just stealing from a person, he's also breaking a monetary. He's doing two sins. In the worst case, then, a regular sin. He's committing a crime, also breaking a din in the Torah which says, I'll tell you, you're not supposed to fool one another. Therefore, because it's so important, we can understand now why the very first question is asked of a person when he comes to the heavenly court. The first question is, the sasa of an asata b'amuna. The sasa of an asata, that's maso matan, did you receive and did you give? B'amuna, faith. Faith, of course, means honesty. And you're honest when it came to maso matan. B'amuna, you don't want to know that this part belongs to the owner's shama, and now it belongs to this other person in the shama, make sure it gets there properly. The person who overpays for the item belongs to him. It's not a perfect zivig, it's not a correct match. So a person must be very careful to see that you receive what's yours and give to another person what's his, carefully with the Amunah. That's why Amunah means truth. Emes ve'Amunah, as the Gemara says that the tzadik can do this, obey this properly, would not lie, even if they stood to gain a large fortune. No matter how big the fortune they could gain from telling a lie, a slight fabrication, they would refuse to do so. This is purity, innocent. Of course, in Chusa, this Amunah, Masamat Amunah, person is zecher to Uli Bracha, is Shefa, Bracha Panasim. Meaning, of course, the ultimate goal, the Umas HaNefesh, and Umas HaKol. To be zecher to true Amunah Shleima, and thereby the Amunah Shleima, the Heid HaKol. Maso Matin. The business continued. It says that just like there is an Isser fooling somebody in business, overcharging or underchipping, undercharged, deceiving the seller, so too is there an Isser to fool somebody in renting or hiring. You hire somebody a job and you fool him, you trick him into taking a lower scale pay, no matter what type of rules you use. You fool him through mathematics, you trick or you lie to him about the time you want, or you hire an item for a certain price and rent an item at a certain price. The same rules of I know means to fool somebody, to deceive somebody in money matters, applies there too. This includes, of course, the word of Sasa Satamuna means doing business, dealing with money matters, Be'emuna, with good faith, with truth. There's an exception to this rule. This very fittingly is called Maso Latin Be'emuna. The person does Maso Latin Be'emuna, and there is no Aidah. So they play on words, but that's what the word of the Gemara uses. The person does Maso Latin business. Be'emuna means it with trust. In other words, take my word for it, and that's the deal on which I'm selling it to you. If I say to you that I bought this item and I paid $100, and I want to make $25 on it, that's what I'm asking you this price. I'm telling you the truth. This is what I paid for it. This is what I want for it. Now it's up to you to accept it. If, let's say, it's discovered that afterwards that I bought this item, I was tricked myself. The item was worth only $75. I paid $100. You paid now $125. You could have gotten this for $75 in the market. It was a big idea. You were fooled. You were taken in. You weren't taken in by me, because I sold you a good faith. I told you the truth. The item could be worth $1,000, it could be worth a penny. This is what I paid for. This is the profit I want. You accepted my word rather than the market price. That's called Aidah, on trust, on faith. There's no din of Aidah. There's no question about No claim of having fooled a person because he could have gotten it cheaper. This is the price I want for it. The price I paid. Do you feel that I deserve that kind of a profit? Good. Take it. If not, then you can refuse the offer. Because you accepted the offer in good faith, there are no claims afterwards. In other words, the person cannot even come to court and say, I want my money back because I was fooled. There's no charges there involved, either as a sin or as a claim in court. Now, another item is that if a person, let's say, goes to a store, and he goes to one of those stores where they say, it cost me more, and we need the money, and they're giving you something which is, it's really a steal, which of course, and the person leaves the store and finds out there was one of those stores, and where they charge, they usually pay $10 for an item sell for a small profit like $300-400. He finds out he was fooled. He was rooked. One of the most impossible things in the world is to try to go back to get your money back. They're specialists in that field, so they don't even know you when you come back. Come in half an hour ago, if you never stepped in this store, nobody recognizes you. You're a stranger from outer space. So you feel you've been taken in. Then says, what if you figure yourself, I was taken in, let me give it to somebody else now. Play the same thing to somebody else. Both of us will give him the same spiel, the same story. He says, you one of those, let me alone. So you finally find somebody who's thick enough, somebody dumber than you. Of course, it's pretty rare, but you finally do it. And you sell him this item at none of the profit, the same price you paid. But the question is this Eidah? Are you considered overcharging the person, fooling him? Or could you say, this is the price I paid, I was taken in? The answer is, if you were a fool, you're not a fool, but you haven't got a right to pay to sell to somebody else. You are not supposed to sell an item according to what you paid for it, but according to what the market value is. You were taken in, you have the right to sell to somebody else. This is like a case of Masmat and Ramuna. You're not selling a person like good faith. I paid this 20-cent wood that I paid, this piece of glass I paid $1,000 for a diamond, and give me profit on it. This is the item which I paid. I feel it's worth the value. Look at it yourself and see if it's worth the value. This is what I paid for it. Take it. Here, where you know that you were fooled in this item, this piece of glass, this piece of rock which is sold to me as jade. Well, if you want to buy this for a high price, that'll be the winner. Then even the person cannot say, because I was taking it, I can take it to somebody else. That can be the same as a person whom something is stolen cannot go out and steal from somebody else. Let's be example to be able to MS Bavly, to speak the truth always in our heart and to others. Live with the MS because Hashem came as MS, and that's what we'll see. About these things. He then says that it is forbidden to speak to you're not allowed to fool anybody on price or on weight. So weights and measures. Personally fools somebody in selling an item, this representation is a sin of stealing. In the same token, if a person sells an item which appears to be different, he deceives the person in the appearance. For example, he takes a pure gold and coats a lead brick with it. Never heard about selling a gold brick, about buying one, but this does happen. People who cover lead with gold sell it as a solid gold brick. There are people who are dumb enough to fall for this trick because they were that naive or that sincere themselves, they thought nobody could lie about it. So the same thing, of course, happens every day. A person in a store who sells an item of food as good, fresh, superior quality. How does he do that? He takes a bag of fruit, of rotten fruit, and places a few good ones on top, and charges a price for good ones. This is misrepresenting the same as a gold brick. In fruit, if you steal a penny or steal $100, exactly the same thing. Or a person who takes an old keli, used item, and paints it.
looks like it's brand new. He sells an old, used item for a new one. All these things are in the din of Ainor or steal. Back. One item the Gemara speaks about in a different vein, one item which is not considered unethical in business. That is, if you have in the same street, you have 2 or 3 businessmen selling the same item, 3 food stores, or as the Gemara says, 3 candy stores. These 3 candy stores are competing against each other. It's very difficult to one person do business while the other is on the same street with him. When you have 3, generally there's an old saying that the first one puts up a sign, best candy in the city. That would lead customers on. The second puts up a sign, best candy in the entire country. The third puts up a sign, the best candy in this entire block. And of course the Gemara says that now you're allowed to use methods that would seem unethical. For example, one store will put up a sign saying free chewing gum to any child who buys in this store. Children will flock to it. Or free ice cream if you buy a large purchase. This way he draws the children, like a magnet for children, to help children free ice cream, free items of charity. Or let's say a grocery store which says free ice cream for children. The children would tear their parents apart. Don't buy in this store if he sells better quality merchandise. And this, of course, would mean that the other stores would lose business. Is this permissible? The Gemara says it is. It's not considered unethical. What about a store who cuts prices to the bone? There's regular markup that you're allowed. And one store goes out to cut down, to slice the prices so that the other stores cannot compete with him. Is this permissible? The Gemara says it definitely is. As long as the public is gaining in this manner, they're allowed to do that. There's no complaints, no charges against a store that cuts prices. Complaining against those who raise prices, especially unnecessarily, sugar prices, oil prices, and so on. But those that cut prices for the sake of competition, this is definitely an ethical method of doing business. Definitely not considered doing harm to a competitor. This, of course, means that a person should strive to give more of himself. But this applies to giving tzedakah, to helping another person. And this way a person is Eved Hashem too. We serve Hashem by helping other people, helping other humans, which means humans, not animals. And those, of course, who are far from belief in Hashem are not considered as human beings. Which means to be Eved Hashem, the endless, and to see the Yerushalmi. Amen. Comes to Muscle Mutton. Doing our business again, it says that a person who there are weights and measures. Remember, weights are called stones, and measures, stones that are used in the scales. We used to use those stones to balance scales. Measures, of course, are strings or yardsticks, meter sticks. So these are that anybody who measures or weighs falsely, using the wrong way to measure. So any Jew, even to a guy, even who fools a guy in weights and measures, is breaking one of the mitzvahs of the Torah, one of 11 of the Torah. The penalty for this is very severe because it's impossible for one who did it, who weighed or measured falsely, to really do tshuva right, properly. Because if he had a store, he had these weights and measures that were wrong, we'll never know who to return this stolen money to. Even if he gives the money away to tzedakah, it's a very poor kind of tshuva, so that's why it's best not to be nichshal, to be trapped in the first place. The Gemara says, the posek tells us, there is there's a posek, do not have in your pocket stones that are wrong. Do not keep in your house measures that are wrong. Wrong either way. You should keep only right
proper types of weights and measures. You want to ask, what's going to do? Not keep your pocket stones, or not keep your house stones? There should not be your pocket stones, there should not be your house stones. Why the pocket and why the house? Well, it's because this means that there should not be your pocket money if you have the wrong type of stone. There should not be your house any wealth, any good fortune if you have the wrong type of measures. If you want to have money and wealth, then you must abide by this mitzvah. You must deal honestly with everyone. What is the key to true wealth? The key to true wealth is a person should do business be'emunah, and make faith in Hashem completely. Do not look to fool others. Do not look for special kind of tricks, conniving, scheming. Don't try to expand your business. Don't try to go out of town, spend time away from home, overseas. Simply do business with simple faith and be responded to the one who possesses all the riches in the world, has all the silver and gold. That's the only one you can really get it from. That's the way to do business. Do business very simply with faith and David Hashem, and that's enough. No further solution, no further plan, no further advice. This is it. Simply work simply. Don't overwork. Don't overextend yourself. And be responded to Hashem, and you'll have all the wealth you need, which means to fulfill this mitzvah of Buddha and Tefillah, and be to a true bracha of Hashem and the Yigul Hashem and minimum doing business properly, honestly, without fooling anyone. The person that does that will be assured that Hashem will bless him. The person should know he does not need to do fraudulent business in order to make money. Money comes only from Hashem. Eventually Hashem will bless him and give him wealth if he is honest with people, what Hashem wants to give. Therefore, it is very advisable if a person, again I'm speaking about scales, weights and measures, a person who measures for others and weighs for others, when it comes to the weight, he has to give a person 5 pounds. He gets to the scale shows 5 pounds. Put a little extra in there. It's called the ayin yaf, with a good eye rather than a bad eye. Weigh and measure with a good eye. Give a little bit over of your own. When it says Eifel Shlema Tzadik, did say one of measure of righteousness. Tzadik means give of your own to the person you measure. You give with a good eye, you always be the Hashem will give you turn with a good eye from heaven. To own a scale that is false, weight is not correct, just to own it, not even to use it, keep it in his house or store, really doesn't use it at all. Keeping it alone is considered breaking one of the higher mitzvahs. You're not supposed to have in your house a scale that is wrong. So owning it alone is a crime the person should get rid of. Now, the next item doing business is the person is keeping his word. You do not acquire the ownership of an item until you take it into your own possession. Until then, it's not yours. You walk into a store and you haggle over a price, and then you agree, and you even pay for it, it's still not yours. It must be a kiruv, an act which transfers ownership. However, if a person just agrees on a price, says, I'm willing to pay this price, then he backs out, that person is not keeping his word. The person is considered a rasha, an evil person, because supposed to keep his word, even if he finds out later that he could have gotten it cheaper, could have haggled further and gotten more off the person. Or let's say the seller agrees on the price, and the buyer didn't hear him say that. The buyer said, I'll give you $100 for it. The seller said, okay, in a very low voice. And the buyer said, you didn't hear it, so okay, he said, I'll give you $150. And the seller says, good, I got you. Here's the case of honesty. You agreed in your mind, you said, you made a kiruv in your mind, transfer ownership, 100, you're supposed to keep your word. David, MS, go Baba, the person should speak MS truth in his own life. This is the true pure way that he can work in business. Same thing too, a person getting honestly, if a person is about to finish off the sale of an item, another person walks into the place and sees this person
arguing about it, discussing it. It's about to make the kinyan. Before the kinyan is made, it's not his yet. The second person walks over and pulls it, puts down the money for it. And it's his, but he's called a Rosha also. Rosha because he's going for that which belongs to somebody else by way of righteousness. The Gemara says the whole page it speaks about the Misha Torah. The President proclaimed Misha Torah, which means they place a curse on that person who does not keep his word. If he gave a deposit, which is still not a kinyan, or he said, except this is mine, put my name on it, things like that. He gave his word for it, he gave his deed word, and then he backed out. Either the buyer or the seller, this is not the act of a Jew. He must receive a Misha Torah, which means that the president cursed him, assist in these words. Misha Torah, one who took revenge from the people in generation of flood, generation of the Tower of Babel, and she's named later, his name still young. He's sitting there, later, the Egyptians who were down in the sea, Hashem took revenge from them. We put our Hashem too should take revenge from the person who doesn't keep his word. So serious is this, so frightening, the person does not keep his word, has got to accept this person doesn't. Therefore, a person should always keep his word, even though he decides not having made a kinyan, but he didn't give anything positive at all. He just said his word alone, he agreed. None of it too should back out. Backing out is a person who's called Chusrei Amana, lacks reliability. And again, in this case, we have exactly these words actually. Whereas the Gemara says the Aharon, the rabbis of the Gemara, the Aharon, do not have any nachas with them. Very sharp word, very strong word. Just as we say, the nachas of the person who comes to million, that's for certain. So the Aharon do not have nachas with the person who does not keep his word. A Jew should not commit a crime speaking. In fact, the person really has Yerushalmi, that person, the Gemara says, should even keep his word in his heart. He didn't say a word to the seller or to the buyer. In his heart, if he agreed a certain item, then he's got to keep his word. The Gemara tells the case of a person who was davening, he couldn't broke out. And the buyer came to him and offered him a price. But talking, English ministry. And it's back to the buyer. The buyer thought that he had refused his price. He raised the price. One he went to 200, went to 300, 400. He got to 1,000. This person finished the ministry. He said to him, "You gave me the first offer. I just started out. You said $100. In my heart, I agreed to pay you $100. You kept going up. In my heart, I made the price $100. I don't want to take it off. Even though right now, legally, I didn't say a word at all. Of course, in my heart, I agreed to $100. I refused 1,000. In order to that's the true person who's ish-emes. A person who's so true that he's true in his own heart, his own conscience. That's the way to deal in business, and the person who does that receives the brachas. Menachem with his business where he'll make out much better than one who works fraudulently, dishonestly, doesn't keep his word, doesn't show. The thing is that we find that business is tied in with the word emunah. A person should have emunah in business, must not emunah. Our life is supposed to have emunah, all the brachas, to true emunah, to see what is the Ishmael, in fact, it's coming on to Nissan, to see that they have to wait until part of the work is over. We're beginning to see it's coming in Mashiach, and it's actually later than this. Due to the fact that we have a simcha today, a very happy occasion for the sign-off and Cohen families, we're going to deviate from the regular shiur in dinim and discuss items that are pertinent to this simcha that I hope the families will leave with and take to heart and with Hashem work on it to improve themselves. We have a din first, a very basic rule in the Torah. In fact, it is one of the 10 commandments. The 5th commandment says that a person must demonstrate a true and sincere respect and honor to his parents. Respect and awe, because Hashem himself
in the Torah demands that their respect be equal to his own. Hashem says, just as you respect me, so too must you respect your parents. Just as you respect your Creator, so must you respect the one that gave birth to you, brought you into this world. Because the parents and Hashem are three partners in the person that is born. The mother and father produce the physical parts of the body, 248 organs, 365 tendons, and Hashem injects into this body the senses, and of course the soul. And therefore, since all three are partners, it is expected that the son, the daughter, give the respect to the parents that is due them, just as he respects Hashem. So, in turn, there is also a law, same sense, a din, reference to what are the duties of a father to a son. There is no respect to his son, but there are certain obligations that a father has to his son. He brought a child into this world, he had certain obligations. Those are specifically to teach this child, to give this child a proper education, the knowledge, the inspiration to fulfill the mitzvahs of Hashem, the commands of Hashem. By doing so, of course, the child gains. The child grows up to possess character, ethics, loyalty, devotion to Hashem, devoted to the mitzvahs. And of course, many of those mitzvahs deal with a person's relation to his fellow man. That he must live a life of purity and honesty in a civilized society if he obeys the laws of the Torah. At the same time, the true person to gain in this case is the father himself, because there is no greater honor to a father than when the son fulfills the mitzvahs of Hashem. That is the biggest honor possible. And therefore, in a case like we have today, we have the grandfather, the father, and the son. The Gemara says that when a grandfather brings his grandson to a shul, to a yeshiva, it is exactly the same as bringing a Jew to Mount Sinai when the Torah was received. Today is a very auspicious occasion, a very happy event in your life. Especially the mitzvah boy should know that today you become bar mitzvah, you put on tefillin for the first time, and this should fill you with pride. Because if you think about it a little more deeply, you'll find a deep sense of relief. Someday, in the distance, you're going to have your children ask you a question, or even your grandchildren. Children will say to you, very innocently, "Father, were you ever bar mitzvah?" And then you'll breathe a sigh of relief and say, "Yes, son, I was," or "Yes, grandson, I was." Because that is the sort of the badge of recognition of a Jew. The Torah says that if a Jew puts on tefillin, then he no longer carries the evil title of karkafta, one who lacks respect for the crown of Hashem. The tefillin of the crown of Hashem. Once a person puts on tefillin, he has received this credit now forever. So we certainly are happy to join with you in this simcha. And we express and extend to you, both the families of Sarnaf and Cohen, the Mazel Tov, best wishes that you should be zecher, you should merit, you should have the privilege of having many more happy occasions in these two families. And that the true nachas, the satisfaction of seeing this bar mitzvah boy grow up to become a pride and satisfaction not just to your family but to the entire Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. And this happy occasion should be the beginning, the opening, many more happy occasions in your families, in all the families in the Jews, and especially Simcha Klolius, general happiness, and we'll all see the coming of Mashiach, the redeeming, the Gula for all Israel, Hela in our time. Amen. Business or honesty and dealing with others. The word says, it says that a person who is seeking to buy something, a certain item in the market, somebody has a good purchase, he has a nice car, a second-hand car, he wants to sell it, this person is seeking to buy it. Or he has a piece of property. This person who has to buy it discusses the price with the seller, they agree to a price, but before they complete the transaction, someone else comes along, quickly tricks the seller into selling it to him, thereby this one of the interested buying it all this time lost out. One that came along and bought it is called a Russia. Evil person because he destroyed something dishonestly. He should have realized that when a transaction is completed, it's a completed item, though there was no kiruv, although there was no actually act of confirming it, but there was a word. The word is enough. The word should be the finalization of a transaction. If, however, they did not arrive at a price, real price, and a third party came and offered more, then of course he has a right to buy it. The second person has a right to buy it then because he's offering more, he's justified. Now, in the case of a shliach, a messenger, if someone gives a messenger, a friend of his, he thinks it's his best friend, here's money, go out and buy a piece of property or that car or something for me. The price is standard, it's known, here's the money, go get it for me. This messenger went and saw this item, this object, he desired it for himself, so he bought it to himself, with his own money. This messenger is called a fraud, a dishonest person, a deceitful person, because he was sent with full trustworthiness. The sender, his friend, trusted him. He didn't know this person was deceitful. He got himself aboard it. He didn't know he put his trust in him, and he turned out to be a lover of Adamai, a faker, a fraud, a liar. So in this case, it's called a Ramai, or in a sense, a Russian. This applies to a case where somebody sends a friend out to Kiddushin. He discussed marriage with a certain woman, the daughter of a certain man, and he agreed to it. All it required is just Kiddushin, consummated by giving the ring or the money, and he sent his best friend out to go to be Kaddish, that woman, for me. That person. And this friend goes out and sees this woman, he persuades her to marry him. He takes her for himself. In this case, the person too is a Russian, evil person. Of course, the question is how successful can such a marriage be? If the person is a Russian, how much will he pay for it later on? The second question is, again, according to the Arizal, says that every item is destined to reach a certain person. If you buy something for a dime, a small item, it is all destined, not so much. Because that item has something that has a direct connection with your neshama. The neshama requires being a sakin, expecting a cure, a correction in that single item. There are certain sparks, kedusha, that are there, and these little atoms of kedusha require tikkun through your ownership. Somebody else goes out and takes it away. It's Russia. It's a question about what happens. Now, it is possible that a person could take something away, take something by force. It would seem it's illegal, and yet it's because subconsciously or unconsciously the Shema knows that there is an important connection with this item. For example, we have a din in the Gemara that if two people argue over a certain item, each one claims it's his own, it's mine. So who's it belong to? The one who is stronger. Right is right. They start battling over it. The stronger one, the one who is 6 foot, 200 pounds, and one of them is 4'9", washed out rig. They battle over it, and of course the 4'9" karate expert wins. So whoever is stronger, in this case, he wins. It belongs to him. Kashi is, what kind of halacha? What does that din mean? You're stronger, therefore it's yours. How does the Gemara say it? That's halacha. Interesting. Not the only about that one who's stronger is stronger because there is a magnetic force between his neshama and the item, the sparks or atoms of kedusha in that item. Therefore, it will be drawn to him. Although it's a din that's very difficult to comprehend how might makes right, this case, though, is the fact that there is a connection, a tie between his neshama and the item. So eventually, every single item must get to its origin in the neshama. That's why at times we can ask questions about why a law is such and so on, why judges rule. Because always it's the fact that the thing is drawn to its mokra, to its shalish. Still, the fact is that a person acts deceitfully, if he's sent out with trustworthiness, does something wrong, for his own benefit, his own gain, he's called a Hamay in Russia. At least the person, so each person should know to deal with everyone with honor and trust. Always maintain trustworthiness in the eyes of people, especially to the eyes of Hashem. To be with sheikhness, true people with truth. Always speak only the truth, not like those who don't. And speak the truth on weekdays and even on Shabbos also. Zecher through emes to Emunah to Yerushalmi and Aharon. Continuing Hilchos Masa Matan, beginning about honesty. Person being honest, keeping his word. It then says that if a person promises to give someone a gift, he's not allowed to back out. He must keep his word, because the person whom he promised it to is relying on it, and it's sinful to let him down. If he does, then he's considered one who has a lack of amunah, a lack of trustworthiness. If it's a very large gift, usually a large gift, then of course the other person didn't really expect it, then he may back out. This, of course, is very often found in certain stores where they sell jades and so forth, very famous stores. You see it happen when one person, a friend, walks into the store and says, "I'm going to bring you luck today. I'll bring you luck." They believe in luck. And then the customer walks in and the owner of the store says to his friend, "If I make a sale for $50,000, I'll give you half." And of course, he makes a sale, and then try to collect the half. The other person knows who he's talking to, so he knows he can't rely on his word at all. In a case like that, of course, that case, because there even if you say a small amount, it still would be even. Ordinarily, if it's a large-size gift, then it's expected that the person can rely on it. Small gift, then it is. There is one exception, where small or large, regardless, if a person said, gave his word that he would give to a poor person in the form of tzedakah, a gift, then automatically, no matter what he said, it becomes a neder, a vow, and he must fulfill it. Not only that, even if he didn't say it, just in his heart, in his mind, he decided, finalized the plan to give a certain amount of tzedakah, he must fulfill his thought. Once it is a case of hektish, it becomes, it's as though there was a kinyan just by saying it alone, or even thinking it alone becomes a form of neder, and he must fulfill it. So that's why, at all times, the person should become very much accustomed to using a term, the neder. The person uses that term, he is safe as far as not risking the sin, crime of breaking a neder, chas v'shalom. So finally, this din, we find a case where a person wants to sell a lot, a piece of property, or a house. Two people come to buy it. Both offer the same price, both are equal buyers. Which one should he sell it to? If one of them lives in his city and one is from out of town, the person must have consideration more for those living in his city. If he owes this consideration to him, member of his own city, he must give him the preference in the sale. If both members of his city, and one of them was his neighbor, and one lived further away, then the preference goes to the neighbor. But if one is his friend who lives further away, one is his neighbor who he's not too well acquainted with, the friend comes first. So because the din says that the most important thing is a chavruta, a good friend exerts priority. In all cases, though, if of course one is his relative or one is his friend still comes first. Posek says, and this wise is closer, comes first. But there's one exception. That one takes priority over a member of a city, or a neighbor, or a friend, or a relative, and that is a Talmud Chacham. The Chacham is to be given preference, first choice over all others. The covenant is to give him first choice. However, there's one person that comes before all others. This person can be an Amharitz, and he can have a friend who is a Talmud Chacham, a Rebbe, or anything. This Amharitz comes first, and that is the case of Bar Mitzvah, which means he has a field right next to the one that's being sold. The person that has that field next to him, he wants to expand his field. Or he has a house, he wants to expand the house. He gets first choice over all others, regardless. That's they did about farmers. We can find that case true today also. Two people have stores on the same lot next to each other. One person wants to sell a store. He sells a store to either the city, a friend of his, a relative, a Talmud Chacham, and so on. If the store next to him wants to expand, he has rights, first priority over all others. He gets the rights, first rights to buy the store. And according to, I did tell you, if